I just came back from my first GDC, so let's unpack. So I just got back from San Francisco after my first experience at GDC, Game Developer Conference. If you're not familiar with that, so there's a lot of talks on how to make a game, behind the scenes stuff about game development there. And you know, it's a conference that you've been hearing a lot ever since you decided to join the gaming industry. And it's not quite what I expected it to be like. I've just been doing a lot of like reflections on my experience and thought it might be cool to share with you guys. No matter if you've been there before or you're like curious about what it's like. So first of all, the event is massive. It's held at the Moscone Center. So basically there's like 3 massive buildings with a lot of rooms in there, giant hallways. First 2 days is the summit part. So that's more for like individual disciplines. For example, there's visual effects summit, there's animation, there's game narrative, there's an indie game summit, and there's like individual talks happening throughout the day. That's held at the West Building. For the 3rd and 4th day, it's where the Expo Hall opens and where most of the core concept. So it's more like a general talk about game development. And for the Expo Hall, there's like this huge basement between the North and the South building there. A lot of like the vendors, exhibitors have like stands there. So by the scale of the event, it's already really massive. And then there's also like tons of people that's going there. Game developers itself, and then there's a lot of publishers, and then there's like indie game devs, a lot of students. There's also different companies like outsourcing, motion capture, all kinds of people from the whole industry that's gathered there for the week. Also, a lot of events happening at the same time. There's the summit talks, there's individual events happening outside the hallways. There's also like networking events outside of GDC. So when it's your first experience there, it's really overwhelming. Like, which events do I go to? Which networking mixer do I go to? Who should I meet? Should I meet them? Should I go with that group? Too many options. So you also have like that FOMO of like, am I missing out on that great party where I'm gonna meet someone that's like life-changing? So the first 2 days was the summits. The main reason that I'm going this time is because I was accepted to give a talk there. My title was Math, but make it cute. It's about like how math can be used in your VFX. Surprisingly, I wasn't too nervous about that. I did a lot of preparations for my slides. I also did a lot of practice, so when I got there, like all that's left to do is just basically speak in front of a bunch of people and don't be too nervous, which I wasn't, so I think that went well. What's funny though is that my talk was like aimed for beginner VFX artists, right? So they won't think that the math is a barrier for them to pursue VFX. But you know, the price of like GDC passes is so expensive. Like the all access pass is like over 2,000 USD. So a lot of people there are representing their company or their company paid for them, which means they are already VFX artists. So I'm just like giving a beginner level talk to a bunch of probably people that's like better than me, more senior than me. But anyways, I think that went well. A lot of people came and say they love the format of my talk and they learned something, so I was really happy with that. Anyways, I decided that I want to make my talk more accessible to beginner VFX artists, but more on that later at the end of this video. Now for the other talks at this summit, I kind of have like mixed feelings about them. Some of them were really insightful, that takes you to the behind of the scenes of games that you're probably playing already. For example, there's this talk about the Doctor Strange Portal, how they did their rendering pipeline so that it's not too performance heavy. Some other talks feels more like a sponsored ad session from the company of like, hey, we have this new art pipeline tool, really cool, so make sure to check them out kind of vibes. Those I feel like you get less out of attending, and honestly like all of the talks will end up in the GDC vault anyways. I guess unless you really wanted to meet the speaker in person, you shouldn't put too much focus on the talks at your GDC experience. Now let's talk about the Expo hall there. I'll be honest, I was kind of expecting the Expo hall to be more like showing like trailers of upcoming games or like demos for new games there, but a lot of them are like development tools for games or like motion capture or just exhibitors there just showing their product and asking you to use their service. So it didn't end up as like entertaining or fun for me, although there is a section of like alternative control, basically like games that's not using a mouse and keyboard to play it. It's like this game with a huge like cat butt there, and then you just have to like pat on it to get your scores, which is really fun. I got a bunch of these Trader Joe's bags as like a present from America from my family. I heard these are like great bags for grocery shopping. I hopefully like them anyways. I already got it. So now, some people say that the real GDC happens outside of the convention centers. It happens like the hotel bars, at the garden nearby the center, where people just like kind of talk to each other and mingle and networking, whatever. There's a lot of like mixer events. I think there's even like a morning run events I saw somewhere. So outside of GDC, there's still a lot for you to do. Sometimes you don't even need a pass. You can just show up and say, hey, I'm a game developer, can I join? So that's kind of fun, and I'm personally like quite bad at networking. I'm more like an introvert. I'm also from Taiwan, so I guess it's kind of like a different culture when it comes to networking. So I didn't went to a ton of those events, but I did have some pretty amazing moments too. For example, I met my VFX mentor, Jason from VFX Apprentice. I also met a Riot VFX artist that I didn't realize we actually talked before on LinkedIn. So that was cool. And also I met a bunch of you guys that's been watching my channel and just came up to me and said like, are you GeoJaws? Which is like really amazing to me that I have viewers in real life, I guess. Sometimes I just feel like this is all fake and nobody's watching, but I guess there's some audience out there somewhere in the world. Well, maybe it's like the cultural difference or like my personal experience of getting into the industry. I'm kind of not sure how like impactful these networking events could be, you know? A lot of times it feels like you're doing the same conversation again with another set of people. You know, you're like, oh, where do you work? Oh, what do you do? How long have you been doing it? How's your first GDC experience? And then they move on to the next group of people and then start this conversation all over again. And I mean, I'd imagine if you paid for your own flight, your own hotel, you paid for the passes, that adds up to like a big amount of money. You probably have some like agenda or specific goals that you want to get out of it, even from like a networking experience. So like once you know these people and maybe it's not the like job opportunity or like the funding that you want to get, then you move on, which is like pretty natural to me. It's just as someone who is there as a developer that is like not looking for a job, I don't have a game that I want to be published, and I'm not looking for any business outreach. Those networking events can feel a bit like transactional and not as meaningful as like I would expect, I guess. So if you ask me, was it worth it to go to GDC? Well, for me, it's definitely worth it, you know. First of all, I was there because I'm giving a talk, which is like a big moment in my career. It's definitely a milestone for me, considering that I didn't came from a gaming background, decided to pivot and pursue game VFX. So being accepted as a speaker at like the biggest conference in games is really a validating experience and made me feel less as a imposter in this industry. Meeting my boss and my colleagues from Tuatara was also really fun. I'm really grateful to have this kind of connections to them, especially considering we're like a remote company, so a lot of times they're just like a square on my screen, and it's kind of fun to, you know, connect with them and like realize they're all real human beings, I guess. It was Also really cool to meet a lot of like the big names that I'm hearing for a long time, a lot of like online friends that I never get to meet in person, and like meeting new subscribers in real life. It's been a really cool experience for me. There's like a few new friends that I met that I genuinely want to stay in touch afterwards, so that's cool. Honestly, I kind of had like this unrealistically high expectations for GDC, considering like how long I've been hearing about it, and when you get there, it's honestly not that life-changing for me. So if you're a student hoping to join GDC to like network and get a job from this experience, I feel like you're probably better off just like save the money and get a new GPU and work on your portfolio, because passes are expensive. San Francisco is expensive, especially if you don't live there. You have to fly in, get a hotel there, expensive spot in the city, and there's just like a slight chance of you meeting someone that's actually gonna be a career changing moment for you, especially like in this day and age where a lot of people are just looking for artists online. I feel like it's not gonna be worth your money most of the time. But if you're already in the industry working and your company is paying for everything, at least that's the case for me, I think it's pretty cool to go to GDC and like visualize how big the industry really is, meet up with a bunch of cool people, and just enjoy your time there at San Francisco. It's even better if you already have friends that you know are gonna be attending, so it just becomes like this really fun reunion for you. Oh look, here's the mug I got as a souvenir for my GDC experience. But anyways, that's just my personal thoughts on GDC. I would love to hear like from you guys, whether you've been there before or not. What's your expectations like for GDC, and how's your actual experience? Whether you're first time or you go there every year, just leave in the comments, like and subscribe if you like this video. And oh, about my talk, I've put the whole Unreal Engine project files on my Gumroad, so you can download for free. There's the material in there showing how I used math to create this stylized fire. There's also the slides in there, so I hope this helps for people who are not as lucky as me that get to attend GDC. Like and subscribe, let me know how your experience was like at GDC. And now it's time for me to do some laundries. See you in the next one. Bye.